Welcome to the Midlife Shift, juicy conversations to help you thrive after 50.
Everybody wants to live better, wants to look better, wants to stay younger.
If we are talking about the future, there's nothing better you can do than to make sure that you've got some moolah.
I can't stand the whole, oh no, I've got no regrets.
Yeah.
Really? Have you lived a life?
Join us as we shake things up and talk about the things that matter and maybe a few things that don't. You're about to hear another juicy conversation on the Midlife Shift. I'm Alex Brooks, and this is going to be a chat with a woman who has danced, sung, entertained, and made us laugh on television screens since the 1960s. And it is a real privilege to talk with you because I remember you on TV Week covers all the time when I was a kid, all the time. And now I'm sitting on a couch with you.
Yes, in the midlife shift.
That's right.
Well, I've done that. That's a couple of years ago, midlife for me too.
Well, I'm hoping that you're going to inspire us with the way you've lived and the way you've smiled through this, because we all know you as Denise Ding Dong Drysdale.
Yep.
But I know that Ernie Sigley had something to do with the Ding Dong name, but really, come on, where does that come from?
Well, Ernie, when he was working at radio in the 50s, had a secretary called Denise Bell. And because of the bell, they called her Ding Dong. So years later, and it's like probably 15 years later, and he's heard Denise, he's automatically gone Ding Dong. And I'm really happy about that because I love it. I think it's a term of endearment, but he could have called me anything and it would have stuck. So thank God it was Ding Dong.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
And now, I hear your dog is called DD as well.
That's Darling Dog.
Okay, so we love a nickname in the Drysdale world. Is this
Yes,
right?
Yes, we do. Yeah, love a nickname. I've got about 20, I think.
Oh, like what else?
Niecy,
Nice.
Dingers, Drizzy.
Drizzy. Did that come as a child, that one, or is that just a recent?
My dad, used to call Dad Drizzy, and that caught on.
Really?
Yeah, when I was younger. Oh, Dad used to call me Dog's Body.
That's not very kind, is it?
No, but that was Dad.
So I don't know if we'd get away with all those words today. Everything's a bit more politically correct now.
Oh,
isn't
and I
it?
hate it.
Do you?
Yep.
Which ones irritate you the most?
The fact that you can't tell an Irish joke or those sorts of jokes, and the Irish people don't mind them. It's the people that aren't Irish that take exception to them. They love a good Irish joke, the Irish people, but we're not allowed to do them.
What about knock-knock jokes? Can you do a knock-knock joke?
Oh, I don't really know any knock-knock jokes.
So you're good on the Irish jokes. But you're quite good at coming up with a funny line. I mean, you and Ernie like that, right?
Well, with Ernie it was fabulous. If we started to talk about something, I immediately knew where he was going with it. And if and the same with me. So you can't manufacture that. You've either got it or you haven't. And we had it in bucket loads at one stage.
No, I think in all stages. And, I mean, he was your work husband. That's what you've called him before, right?
Yes, and I worked out today before I came in to do this, 35 years we were together on and off working.
That's more than any of my marriages have lasted.
I reckon that's why he was still married to Glennis, because I spent more time with him.
But you did have a real husband and two sons as well, right?
Yes, Chris Milne.
Did they love Ernie too?
They didn't have much to do with him.
Okay.
Because it was always, we lived in the country for a start, so I used to leave the country when this is when I was married with the two kids. So we were an hour and a half out of Melbourne, so they didn't go to work with me.
Okay, so you had your own private world as a working mum, which
I was very lucky.
You
and
really
I had
were.
Chris, that was a great dad. He was a writer, so he could do that from home as well. But I got a lovely respite from the kids, which I know you mums love your kids, but isn't it lovely when you haven't got them for just maybe a day or two?
It really is. It actually really is. And now you both had a hit song. You and Ernie had a hit song with Paula. He sang Paula, Hey Paula, but you sang Hey Paul, right?
Hey Paul, I've been waiting for you. Hey Paul, I want to marry you too.
Yes.
So was that one of your favourite songs to sing? Because I don't know if many people know that you were quite the singer in the 60s, right?
Well, I grew into a voice. I couldn't. I lied about singing and got myself into trouble a couple of times, but I grew into a voice. But how Hey Paula came about is we did a rock and roll show, and Ernie said, I think we should do a song together. I said, yeah, okay. So we did Hey Paula, and we got a great reaction to it. He said, I reckon we should record it. And I said, yeah, let's, and we'll give the money to charity. And he's gone, and we gave the money to Lifeline.
Oh,
and
good
worked
on
out
you.
later we could have bought a house.
Well, still, at least you made money out of music, right?
Yeah, but the thing is, Lifeline's still going too.
That's right.
Maybe we had something to do with it.
Sadly, Ernie's not still going. Now,
No, he's passed.
Yeah,
he's up there.
do you reckon he's watching down and looking at you?
I do hope there is a heaven,
Yeah,
because he'd be up there and he'd be talking to all the people that he loved. That this is what I hope that. Like I've just had a friend pass. He was 80. Oh no, he drank red wine and smoked and ate cake. Not a green thing past his lips. And so he went, but he used to do W.C. Fields and impersonate, and I hope that he went straight to heaven and was having a conversation with W.C. Fields, and they both and he was doing his impersonation.
Oh, you see, and now Ernie was a very funny guy.
And not only that, very intelligent.
Yeah. Well, you have to be intelligent to be funny, really.
But
don't you?
he had the most amazing memory. He knew every footballer, cricketer, politician, and he could reel off things. I'll give you an example. We had Eartha Kitt on to do an interview, and the publicist said, "Oh, she's not in a good mood." And when she sat like this, and we're there, and Ernie goes, "Oh, it's such a pleasure, Miss Kitt, to have you on the show." And I remember your first record. It was on WG or whatever, and it was, "Don't Look at Me Now," and she's gone like that. He won her over in 2 seconds because of his knowledge.
Yeah. Oh, that's a beautiful thing. Now, it must have been brutal to watch someone with that intelligence have Alzheimer's, though.
That was the hardest thing.
Mm.
Yeah, his mum went like that. He used to talk about it all the time.
That's
I hope he didn't talk himself into it. But
I hope not either.
But the last time I saw him, I went in, I sang the whole of Hey Paula to him, and he stopped and he just looked at me. I sang the whole song, and then he got recognition and he came over and gave me a great big hug, and he was really emotional. And then we're sitting on the bed, and 10 minutes later he said, "You remind me of somebody." And I said, "Delvine Delaney?" And he went, No, not her. I said, "Denise Drysdale." He said, "Yeah, that's who you remind me of."
Oh, that's a beautiful story, though,
Yeah,
isn't it?
lovely way to finish.
Really beautiful.
That's how I remember that was the last time I saw him.
Delvine Delaney, DD, same thing. But you've said your worst nightmare would be being alive but dead.
Well, when I say that, I mean quality of life.
That's right. Because health span's more important than lifespan, isn't it? Like being...
Of course.
Yeah.
If you had to feel like I've had the best life of anybody, I think. Yeah. I've travelled and it's always been for work, and I've been to places that other people haven't been to, and done things that other people haven't done, all through the magic of telly.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't want to be here if I'm not a full mind. And can I get really heavy?
Yeah, let's get heavy.
I believe that they've mucked around with the birth process so much, right? So they can do that at that end of our beginning.
Yep.
Like you can have a baby in a dish if you want now, and then you can choose the sex or something.
Yep.
But at the end of the life, when I feel that I've had enough and I want to go, I should be able to go. I shouldn't have to get permission from anybody else.
I do agree, and I do think many states, I'm not sure where Queensland's at with it, they do have voluntary assisted dying laws now.
Yeah, but
if
they're
you've got dementia, you can't do it.
Yeah, but you've got to see 2 psychiatrists and everything. I know whether I'm good or bad.
I know.
I don't need somebody else to tell me. They're not in my mind. So I get really angry about. I know that there's a worry that then people will say, "Oh,
pop you off for your money.
Pop mum off. We'll get the house."
Yeah.
There's that part of it. But if you're like me, I think I should be able to make the decision.
I agree. And have you spoken about this with your boys?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, it's important that your kids know this stuff,
Get
right?
the Dunlop pillow, I said. I won't stop you.
So
I won't fight.
Dunlop won't give you a brand ambassadorship now.
They're good pillows.
Come in very handy later in life.
And don't forget to sign the Do Not Resuscitate form at the hospital.
That's what I was going to ask you about, right?
Because if you're, and this has happened to my girlfriend just recently, her husband went into a nursing place and he didn't do the Do Not Resuscitate, and he had a heart, a replacement heart.
Oh, like a second heart. He'd had a heart transplant.
The heart transplant, and the heart kept going because of the mechanics of it.
Oh.
And so, in theory, so they just had to wait and wait and wait. So that is why one important thing, the Do Not Resuscitate it, if you're like me, and also a will, please.
Yeah, that's right. I was going to ask you about that.
If you don't leave a will, you leave it in a terrible mess for somebody else to clean up.
That's right.
And even if you've
the state will get part of it.
But even if you don't think you've got anything, you will have something that somebody else wants. So make sure it goes to the right person.
Yeah, so we've done a few stories like that on Citro. So the will is pretty important, and a lot of people now are also making arrangements for their pets after death, which is really important.
Oh, I'm hoping Dee Dee goes with me.
Oh.
I feed him the same food, so I reckon we should be ready to go at the same time. Loves a bit of Vegemite toast.
Oh, does he?
Yes, and he had sweet corn the other night with chicken.
Well, that's all right.
I'm going to try him on some chicken and sweet corn soup from the Chinese.
Then he might want dim sims next, sweet and sour pork.
Yeah, but we share everything.
Oh,
so no, he's 5.5. So
yeah, well, you've got plenty.
And there's plenty of people fight over him to take him.
And you also need this thing called an advanced sort of care directive. So the Do Not Resuscitate is one piece of it, but depending on which state you live in, you sort of, I think you can go to there's a federal government website that gives you all the information on it.
Really?
Yeah, so you can really spell stuff out so that even if your kids do want to pop you off to get your house, it's there and official. You don't mind that your kids pop you off to get the house?
Well, I've got a prepaid funeral.
Oh, very good. That is.
But that was a present from someone.
That's a very uncheery present.
No, it was the man that owned I did some ads for funerals.
It was a freebie.
Yeah, but the thing is, he picked me up. It was very, very wealthy. Won't say the name. And he picked me up in a Bentley or a Rolls Royce or something, took me to lunch and was talking, and he said, "I've got a present for you." And I thought, a bracelet, something like that,
Something
and
nice.
He said, "Prepaid funeral."
But I bet your kids went,
I said,
Mom.
No, but I went, great, the last bit of the puzzle.
Very good.
You've got your house, you've got your super, and you've got your prepaid funeral.
And I was going to ask you about super because the TV world was sort of notorious for short-term contracts, right?
Yes.
And you probably never got super in the 70s is my guess. I don't know.
I
wanted to ask how it worked.
I was lucky. I had a fabulous accountant who had a secretary who used to do all the bits and pieces called Mrs. Innes.
Mrs. Innes.
And she set me up. They set me up with a super fund. I think it was about 75.
Oh, very good.
And
I'm impressed.
Yes, I'm a saver.
That's good.
Yeah, so I had that going from 75. And what's that?
Done.
How many? That's nearly 50 years.
Yeah, that's really good. That's great.
Yeah.
And so what does the word retirement actually mean to you then?
Nothing.
Yeah. Because we don't really want to retire from living, right?
No, the thing is, it's different now. When you retired, you either went home and sat or you fished or did something like that, and then you went into the home. That's not like that now. It's all different. All the over 50 places are getting people up and running. And so it's a start living. If you move into assisted accommodation or one of those little villages or apartments, some of them are just wonderful. That's it's a new start to the end of to the third part of your life.
That's right. That's exactly right. The third act.
Yeah, and
that's always the best one though, isn't it?
I've worked at a lot of places and never only one person came up to me and said, I don't like it here. And I said, oh, that's no good. I said, how long have you been here? And she said, 3 weeks.
Well, she just hadn't settled in yet.
No, well, that was right. But I've had people come up and I say, oh, you're friends? Yeah. And how long have you been friends? Oh, only since we moved in here.
Oh,
and you look at them and you think they've been friends for years.
that's nice, isn't it? They're nice stories.
So it's good.
But Bette Davis said aging's not for sissies.
No, it isn't.
No, you have had this thing, and I hope I pronounce it correctly, trigeminal neuralgia.
Yes, lovely.
Yeah, well, it's a hard thing to remember how to pronounce, but I believe it's probably even harder to live with, right? Can you?
It is a terrible
affliction. Would that be what? Because
I suppose it is an affliction because it comes. It doesn't discriminate. It just comes when you like it. I've been in the middle of interviews, and I've had to say, I'm sorry, I have to stop. And can you ring me back in 10 minutes? Because it just cripples you.
So
You're
describe
like this.
what happens. So neuralgia means inflamed nerve, right?
Yes, it's the nerve hitting on the artery. And so what they did, I had a brain operation.
I know, very intense.
I know, I put it off for about 1.5 years. I was petrified.
Don't blame
Well,
you.
as soon as you hear brain operation, you
You
think,
go,
oh, my
"What?"
God, no. But I went in and they did the incision back here. They shaved there. And the pain went straight away. And I said to the doctor, did you learn sewing from the nuns? Because it was the neatest thing I've ever seen in my life.
That's the kind of doctor you want stitching you up, though.
Oh, yeah, but it was just amazing when the pain went.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry to hear that you went through that.
That's all right. People go through worse.
That's exactly right. But you've also had a detached retina.
Oh, listen, I'll go through it. I did the knee replacement, and I was in to get that done, and then my eye went all cloudy, and I ended up calling the ambulance, and the gorgeous guy in the ambulance said, I'll take you, I'm not taking you to emergency. My mum works at Specsavers. Get down there at 9 o'clock in the morning and she'll get you into a specialist. So I got into the specialist at 12 o'clock that same day, and I was operated on the next day. If I hadn't have, he said, I would have lost the sight in the right eye.
Wow.
So I had that, and then I had the knee replacement, and I had to sit up because I couldn't lie down because of my eye. Then I got blood clots from the thingo, and then I got all these black dots, and they didn't know what they were. I think it was just my body reacting to all the things.
Your body going, what?
And then I had a fall and dislocated my shoulder and
Denise,
bruised all down here.
Ow.
And then what else did I have? Yeah, the trigeminal. I think that's about it. Oh, bad back, but that's just normal.
I was going to say everyone has one of those, don't they?
Yeah, you just get niggly pains every now and then.
What's worse, a bad back or bad knees?
Bad anything.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you're probably right. And so in terms of keeping active, looking after your health once you've had these brushes with,
yes.
What did you call them? You called them something like the horror book of medical emergencies or something.
Oh, I went from A to Z.
Oh, yeah.
Dr. Wright's medical book, which Ernie we used to have him on the show, and he had this book, A to Z Diseases.
Yes, he did.
And he gave one of those to Ernie, and Ernie used to go, I think I've got this, and he'd look it up in the book. He always had something.
You see, I used to ask my friend Natasha, who I've had on this podcast as well, she was a doctor, and when we were students, I'd go into her medical books just to look at the pictures because they were so interesting. I didn't realise that men could get really inflamed testicles. Were
Ernie claims that if he ate kiwi fruit, that happened to him.
Did he claim that on television?
Yeah, we talked. That was a good thing. We talked about everything,
and you didn't get cancelled.
Nothing was sacred. Nothing at all.
And they didn't cancel you, right? There was no social media to shut you down back then.
No, and we used to have advertorials.
That's right.
In the show, we'd have 4 in an hour. And then they sold the show to Sydney and Brisbane, and we used to go to the different states to do them. And sometimes they wouldn't have an advertorial for a slot, and we'd just yell out to the camera, someone, give us a subject. And they'd say golf, so we'd talk about golf. But one day, and it went to air, one day there was a gap, and Ernie and I just sat there looking at one another, then looking around the studio for the 5 minutes that it should have been.
And did that go on TV?
It went to air.
Oh, you're kidding me.
No.
That is hilarious. Now, I did tell you about this. If you go onto YouTube and you search Ernie Sigley farts. Now, I don't want to speak ill of the dead.
It's under that
That's
heading.
the title
Not
of the
pop.
video. No, it's not. It's not under pop. Is that the word in your family? Was that who did a pop?
That yes. And I wish they'd use that now.
I know.
I hate the other word.
You hate that word?
Yes.
F-A-R-T is not nice.
Nah.
So that needs to be cancelled, right?
Cancel.
Bring back Irish
pop.
jokes. It's a pop. So my dad used to pleasantly call it a farfie. What about
Oh, well,
a
that's
farfie?
yeah. I don't mind that. It's just that other one's so strict.
It's harsh, isn't it?
Harsh.
It's a harsh word. But you just kept the show together. All the men around you, I think there were 3 other blokes on camera at the same time. They're all losing it, behaving appallingly. And you are such a pro. You're just keeping on going, looking at the camera.
And talking through it. Yeah.
Is that really why he loved you so much? Because you saved him all the time?
Well, I must say he saved me a couple of times. Yeah, that was good.
And how has it been to watch yourself on screen over so many years?
I try
right?
not to.
Because none of us like looking back and going, oh, God, I don't look like that anymore, do I?
No.
And you probably didn't like how you looked back then either.
I
That's
didn't.
the irony of it,
I
right?
worried about my weight the whole of my life. And then just recently somebody showed me a photo when I was 30. I was stick thin. I still had boobs. But, you think you're this ginormous creature.
Oh, I know.
Now I am.
No, that's not true at all.
I am. I've sat for the last month. I was exhausted from last year. I did so much work. I was so lucky to have the work, but I was exhausted. So I just sat and I binged telly. I drank. I ate ice cream cones, a roulade that you get from Aldi that's caramel.
Oh, what's that one called? I love my Aldi tricks. I don't know about that.
Oh, it was just before Christmas they had them, but I did look the other day. They've still got them.
Oh, okay. In the dessert refrigerator section?
Just, yes, to die for. So actually you could if you kept eating them because they're that rich. But and that, and then what else was I having? Marshmallows. I love those with coconut on them. Get those at Aldi. And I just ate for the last month, and I reckon I did put on weight, but I've just sort of started to be good again.
And do you still, because you were such a great little dancer, right? Yeah, that was
Wasn't
how you.
bad.
Yeah, well, that's how you did it from the age of 3.5. I mean, you've trained for that all your life. But do you do any dancing these days?
I do sit down dancing.
Is that like
Look, I can
yoga?
do it from here. You don't have to use your legs.
So, can you teach me how to do that? The go-go dance. Okay.
Use your head.
Oh, I think I bumped my microphone. Let's move on. Okay. Is it more important to have a good hairdresser or a good dresser?
In my case, a good dresser, because I've been able to do my hair for years.
Your hair is so good.
I put it in rollers. I put one
tell me how you
here.
do it.
Yeah, there's only about 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. One in the fringe, 11.
Oh, wow.
And I just take it out and then I just go like that, and everybody hates me for it.
I know, I do.
And I'm so lucky. I realise how lucky I am.
And you've still got, it's such good hair. And we've done a few stories on Citro because sometimes women after that thing called the menopause, which isn't really a pause, it's a durational thing, some women experience really bad hair thinning and hair loss.
Yes.
But your hair's still really quite luscious and good.
I reckon I went through menopause at the age of 16.
Oh.
I used to get really hot and I'd sit in Dad had a chicken bar and I used to sit in with the chickens to get cold on the hot days. Yeah. And now I live up here at the Gold Coast, and when the kids, when it's really hot and they come over, they bring cardigans.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because I've got it on 17. the thing to get cool.
Because you're a hot bod. So you moved up here even though you're a hot bod. And Melbourne's freezing most of the time.
Well, I lived in Nearham where it used to get snow.
Oh.
Sometimes in winter.
Oh, I see.
And snow on Mount Borbor at Christmas.
Oh, I see.
So I used to have the windows and the doors open when people would come and they go, yes, we could just.
Oh, you're so funny. Now, I want to talk to you about your Logies.
Yes.
Because it is such great vision. I've got the clip. It's so beautiful. You win in 1975. You win Best Female.
74, but presented in 75.
Ah, there you go. And John Wayne presents
Oh,
it to
love
you.
him.
Now, did you think at that time that John Wayne was really old?
No, I didn't think about it.
Oh,
No,
so
because
interesting.
I'd grown up with him. you
Exactly.
see,
He'd been on the screen for
for years.
years.
No, he was just an icon. I
He
mean,
really was.
to get that, I'll give you the backstory to that Logie is when I came back from England, I had nothing, did a couple of stage shows. And when Ernie got the show, they asked me to do this comedy sketches in the afternoon, which I did. Then they asked me to do the wheel with him, the wheel and the barrel. And I did that. And I didn't have a car or anything. And I used to go to Channel 9, 2 trams I had to get.
Oh, 2 trams.
And one night after I've done the wheel and I'm walking up to the tram, one of the producers stops and says, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm going home." He said, why are you walking? I said, "I'm walking up to the tram." And he went, "We can't have you out on the road at this time of night." And then I got cab charges.
They were so good.
Within 6 months of doing that show, I managed to buy a car.
Well done. 6 months, not bad.
In 6 months. And so the year that 74, I got a car. I had work and other work because I was doing singing jobs as well.
Wow.
And
Easy.
then to get the Logie the following year from John Wayne, it was like from there up to there.
So that's one of those moments, isn't it? And
Yeah.
careers are kind of like that, right? Just like
Yes.
life. You have really great spots and then you
Yeah.
have some flat spots and then it goes up or it goes down again.
Yeah.
And it does move. But for you, was that the highlight time of your career or were there other times that were better?
No, there's been other times, like I interviewed Hugh Grant.
Yeah.
And Morgan Freeman.
So you loved those?
Loved all of those. So there's a little highlights all along.
Yeah. 'cause-
Every time I get a job, I get off the phone and go, yes, still.
And is that just because you love the work you do?
Yes, but not only that, every job I do, I think this could be the last one. And that started from the 60s. I'd have made
Well, you blew it out of the water.
Yeah, but I've been lucky because being so young and being at the television studio when I was 10 they knew what I did. And so when something came up, they'd say, "Get her, she'll do it." If it was hanging off the ceiling or jumping out of a window or something, they knew I'd do it.
Right. So you were the go-to girl.
Yes, I was the top of the desperate list, I used to say.
Another D word for you.
Because I reckon they'd go through who they wanted and they were all busy. So I could get her.
But you have been an absolute staple of Australian cultural life. Like you really have. I know
I have been the luckiest person as far as work is concerned. I've always been doing something, even if I wasn't on national television.
Yes, that's true.
Yeah.
And you still do a lot of pro bono stuff. You do lots of different things, don't you?
I'm actually about to get involved with, it's a group called View up here, and they work with the Smith family.
Oh, beautiful.
So that's the work I want to do. I never thought Australia would be in the position of having to get an ad up because kids can't afford a uniform or shoes or an excursion.
Yeah.
Not in Australia when we're so rich with
That's
everything.
right. No,
I feel that we've let the generations down.
And do you feel like the divide between rich and poor is getting harder? I mean,
I think so.
yeah.
Harder for kids to get a house, but having a house isn't, like in Europe,
Yeah.
owning a home is not a priority, where it's always been a priority in
Yeah.
Australia.
It has. It really has.
I mean, they build places in Europe with no kitchens
I know. And
because people eat out. They don't cook.
do you like cooking?
I love it.
That's what I thought. What's your favourite meal? What's your go-to meal?
Oh, the kids will usually ask for a roast.
Really?
Yeah, but they get all the bits.
What's your
Like-
secret roast trick? What's
For potatoes,
Yeah.
microwave them till they're half done. Then get a bag with flour and salt and pepper. Bang the potatoes in the flour and give them a little bash, and then they get those crunchy bits in there and into hot fat.
Okay. That's the best roast potatoes.
Oh, they're just delicious. So they know they get all that, and then they get all the, the veggies, roast veggies, steamed veggies, onion and tomato, cauliflower cheese, homemade mint sauce if it's lamb.
You do the whole thing.
I
Clearly.
do.
Clearly you like it.
I love it.
Now, just back to the Logies for a minute. In the clip I saw of you with John Wayne, you're hilarious because you say, I don't know whether to say stick 'em up or hello. And you did also say, I'm going to take my shoes off because this is the smallest I'm ever going to look on television.
That's right, because I was a bit lumpy around about then.
I don't think you were lumpy. And
I think I was.
Oh.
But I think weight was more of a thing back then
yeah, it was.
than it is now.
Yeah, well,
We
there's
see
more
more
body positivity now.
We see more people
Diversity.
exactly as they should be.
Yeah, that's right.
Like if you're born skinny, good luck to you.
Yeah. Well, some people are born with good hair. Some people are born with
I got
skinny
good
jeans.
hair.
Yeah, you got good hair. And you got all the other bits that have made you the staple of our screens for so many years.
Staple, I sound like bread.
Staple. Stomach, staple. Anyway, so in that Logies, though, you can see that, your hair looks great. You're in a lovely little dress. These days, award shows, people get dressed to the nines.
Or undressed to the nines. I'm always amazed. I've gone with Jessica Rowe. You know Jessica.
Yes, I do know Jessica Rowe.
I'm really, really good friends with her now. And the last couple of years we go somewhere to find something, and they've got, I think it's Romance Was Born.
Oh,
Is
yes.
that it?
Yes, the label.
Anyway, we go there and she's got lined up about 15 dresses in a size 8 or
I know,
10 or something.
She did get the skinny jeans.
Yeah. But see, the thing is she loses weight when she gets anxious.
Ah.
So, and that's
I
not,
don't.
no.
I go for those Aldi Roulards.
But anyway, we've got 15 dresses and she just can put anything on and it
Look great.
fits and looks fabulous. And, of course, I'm scrounging around looking for
But did you get many offers in the 70s, Did people want to dress you? Did people...
Oh, I've been dressed by everybody.
Oh, look at you.
Oh, over the years, Norma Tullow in the 60s. You wouldn't even remember her. Sally Brown in the 70s. There used to be, what else? Carla Zampatti.
Yep.
I've worn everybody's clothes over the years. And just recently I wore a dress, which is an Orientique.
Ah.
They saw it. They saw the photo. And I've got a clothing deal at the ripe age of 76.
Well, how's
and
that?
no one's ever offered that before. I was so thrilled. I couldn't believe it.
But I think people think that older women used to be very invisible, but not anymore.
No,
not
I
anymore,
saw.
right?
What did I see? A show. It would have been in the 60s, and where they've got the overcoats and the hats on,
Oh yeah,
and the brooch here.
Yeah.
That was your 50s, or you don't see women like that now.
The Golden Girls, they were only in their early 50s when they were on the screen. That's what the age they were meant to be. But they seemed so much older, obviously because I was younger, but generationally,
Yes.
the older people always look different. There's an otherness to being old. That
I don't think I think like that.
Oh, that's good.
I do feel, who I feel for at the moment is Anthony Hopkins. He's 87 and his house has gone down in LA.
Oh,
has
really? That would
burnt.
be awful.
At 87, he's probably got another house somewhere, but that's okay. But you can imagine the
matter.
treasures
Exactly.
that he would have, like
And also-
things from movies and everything. I think that's the sad thing.
Yeah,
A house can be built again, but not those special things that he would
That's
have.
exactly
like all
right.
of them, like photos, anybody that's lost a house, anything. You've
Yeah.
still got your little treasures.
And I do think those do become more important as you get older, right? Because they're like landmarks of good things that happen to you.
We were talking about this yesterday,
Oh, were you?
about the Logies. because they're 50 years old.
Yeah. Where do you keep your Logies, by the way?
They're next to a little thing of John O'Coleman, who passed away.
Oh, yeah.
And also there's I've got my stamp. I was on a stamp, but they gave us a replica and it's gold.
So you're like the Queen because you've been on a stamp.
On a stamp, but now you're talking about highlights. I thought you had to be able to play cricket or football or be a mountaineer and climb a mountain to be on a stamp.
But you
no.
just had to be ding dong.
Well, I did in the greatest company of all, Ray Martin, Bert,
Wow.
Kerry Ann, Daryl and myself. And that was all because of Peter.
Someone who organised the stamps.
Peter,
thanks,
he
Peter.
worked at Channel 9. He was a producer.
Oh.
And when they asked him about it, he put my name up. So he was responsible for me getting that. And I was that was the only time in my life really when I thought, oh, God, I wish Mum and Dad were still alive.
Oh.
They would have been over the moon. Yeah.
They would have really.
Yeah, it's a very, very
because
great
your
honour.
parents would have, to be dancing from the age of 3.5, they would have been sending you to dance lessons.
Yeah,
and
but
dance lessons cost more back then than they do now.
They had a pub.
So they just wanted free childcare.
That's about what it was, because the 6 o'clock swill and Saturdays were worse because it was in Port Melbourne and there were always fights breaking out. So I went to dancing. That's why I started dancing.
Because
to get me out of
Port Melbourne. I just stayed in Port Melbourne at Christmas, and it's not so rough anymore.
No,
let
I
me
know.
tell you.
I know.
It's very swish, lots of designer dogs, lots of very swish pubs doing bistro meals. Very tasty. Pub in the park even. So there's a pub that was near the train line, and they have a little fenced courtyard bit
going
in the park.
on the
so you can sit over across the road.
We used to play in those trees on the railroad.
There
you go.
See,
and there was a milk
go.
bar on the corner where you could get for threepence a square cone and an ice block.
Oh,
homemade.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
they
still
still
remember
have
that.
lots of milk bars in Port Melbourne. I went to quite a few of them.
Yeah,
they were open on Christmas Day. Hard working, those milk bar owners, let me tell you. Now, let's talk about travel, because are there places you still want to visit?
I'd like to go back to Japan, but I think I've left my run too late because it's too busy over there.
Isn't everyone
going
in
to Japan? The last time I was there was 1969, so I think it would have changed just a little bit.
Just a smidge, maybe.
But the thing is, I've travelled a lot, and Mongolia. I've trekked the Himalayas.
Really?
Yeah. So I've done everything like that I want to do, and I've been lucky to do all of Australia through work.
Yeah,
going
that's right.
to different places, and lots of Asia, little bit of America, but and Europe. I feel like a fish out of water.
So you don't like Europe?
They don't like me.
Oh, come on.
They don't.
How do you know?
Because you can tell when somebody. I'm always nice.
It's because of your Irish jokes.
No, no, but in France, they just instantly, I'd go into a restaurant with somebody else and you'd stand there and they wouldn't take you to a table. And then when you did get to a table, they just left you. They didn't come over and take your order. They didn't give me a napkin.
Oh.
I had to get up and get my own. I was really, really nice, but I don't know, maybe it was the accent was too Aussie.
Yeah, or maybe they confused you for an American.
Ah, that could have been
That's
it.
what people tell me about the French, is that
they hate the Americans.
They don't like the Americans.
Wow.
So what about your favourite friend to travel with, or is it a relative? Who would you ideally go on a trip with if you were going to go away? Who would you take?
If it was with work, I've got quite a few people.
Okay.
But if I was on my own, I'd probably want to take the dog. Because you know what I hate?
What?
I hate, say, when there's two couples.
Yeah.
And you've gone away and you've hired a house and everything, and then you've got to work out what you're going to have to eat, or are you going to eat out, are you going to eat in, are you going to have this and whatever. I hate all that. And then I'd rather pay for it all And then there's the fight over the bill. Can't stand it.
Okay. That's
Can't
so
stand
interesting.
it.
Why is that, do you think?
Don't know.
Oh, it's just you.
No, but with me, I can eat when I want and drink when I want and get up when I want. And so I sound a bit selfish. But if I had to travel with anyone now, I'd probably travel with Jessica.
Okay.
But she's got a husband and 2 kids, so she goes away with them every year.
And not you.
No, never mind.
And now talk to me about your kids and grandkids, because you had 2 boys.
2 boys.
All raised.
Growing up in the country, they used to, when we built a house out of bluestone, and around the house when it rained, and it was near them, so it rained a lot, it was just red mud.
Oh, my God.
So they go out and play in the red mud, and I'd hose them down before they came in. So now they've grown up, and there's Rob's got one, Bodie, who's 13. He's gorgeous. He's he was a bugger when he was 6. He worked out, because at school now, if they play up, they send them home.
Yeah, that's right.
They don't put them in the
No,
corner.
they don't smack them
'cause
with
that might
rulers
upset
either
them.
anymore.
Oh, bring back the strap. And so he worked out at 6th and 7th, and if you threw the furniture around, they rang and they had
let
to
you
come and
back.
get him. They had to go down and get him. So in the end, I said to this teacher, I said, don't ring the parents, ring me. I'll come down. I'll sit outside the classroom with him and do the work that he should be doing.
Oh, look at you. Look at
Yeah.
you.
So anyway, that stopped.
And is being a grandparent way more rewarding than being a parent? Or is it just different?
It's just different. Like I took Bodie to the dentist the other day. That was interesting. He's 13 because he's not getting away. We don't worry about our teeth enough in Australia.
No, we don't, do we?
No, we don't. So I said, right, I'm taking him. That's my job. That'll be my job.
Okay.
So I've got that under. But the other 2 are 3 and 7. The 7-year-old is Xavier, and he's on the spectrum. So he's a little surprise packet. You never know what you're going to get. He does puzzles, and he'll be fine. And he goes to normal school with a special teacher, special needs teacher, and he's done so well in that situation. But then I got Heidi, and I've been surrounded by boys,
Yeah, exactly.
boy dogs, boy this. And I waited for this little girl, and I said, I want to do a room, and I got the bunnies and little butterflies on the curtains and everything. She's like an artillery tank.
So she doesn't appreciate your butterflies? Is
No,
that
she
what you're
doesn't.
saying?
No, and I'll get her something really lovely and everything. The next thing I look, I've just put it on her, and she's wiped her hands down the front. It's all chocolate or bloody yogurt And then Pete brings them around for a couple of hours, and I go, take them home now. Don't clean up. I'll clean up. Just take them now.
Because they are a whirlwind, right?
Well, it's his fault. He should have had them earlier. He's 44.
I know, but we do have our kids a lot later.
But you've got to think of the old parents here.
That's exactly
because I can't pick them up if something happens.
That's right, yeah.
They're too heavy.
Yeah. Yeah, and backs are very precious, right?
Mine especially.
Exactly. All right, we're going to do something now. First up, I'm going to give you 2 choices, and you're going to choose instinctively the one that comes to mind. So I might interrupt you because I can't help myself when I'm curious.
Okay.
But the first choice I'm going to give you is wine or cocktails.
Cocktails.
What's your favourite cocktail?
Japanese slipper,
What is a Japanese slipper?
Maduri Cointreau lemon juice and ice, and a maraschino cherry.
I was out with a friend of mine and she ordered this thing called a buckfast. And I said, what on earth is a buckfast? And she said, it's a red wine with tonic water. And I said, that
Yuck.
sounds revolting. And she said, oh, no, they're fantastic.
Oh,
She goes,
no.
But after 3, don't go up to the bartender because if you ask for a buckfast, you get the consonants around the wrong way. Okay, now I'm going to ask you some more choices. Okay, pelvic floor or dance floor?
Dance floor.
Okay, that's
you said
interesting.
dance floor.
Yeah, because I grew up in Adelaide. We say dance and plants.
Dance and pasty.
Yeah, we do say pasty.
Pasty or pasty.
It's not pasty, some people say too. And what do you have in Melbourne? What you don't call it?
So potato cakes.
Potato cakes, not
They're
potato scallops.
Well,
Yeah.
scallops are scallops, and aren't they?
And what about in Adelaide we called it Fritz. In Sydney they call it Devon, but you call it Berlin.
Straz.
Oh, Straz.
Berlin.
Berlin.
You're somewhere over there.
European. European. Okay, dogs or cats?
Both.
I knew you'd say that. Grandchildren or dogs?
Dog.
Gold Coast or Melbourne?
Gold Coast.
Social media or TV?
TV.
Spend or save?
Save.
Bum or face? Which one? So there's this.
Hang on. What am I doing to them?
So there was this rule about weight loss that you either had to have a big bum and a good face, or you'd lose weight so you'd have a skinny bum, but then your face would start sagging. So it was this sort of rule, like what do you try and save more, your bum or your face?
I don't think I've ever thought about it.
Because
I've got these lines on here now. I haven't had anything done. I think I look pretty good for my age, but I've started to get those. And then just recently, and this is only last year, and I think it had to do with being sick. And, you know how when you're sick, it shows on your face. I've only started to do that. Where I could just, although
you've only just started. That's good.
Just that.
My girlfriend started that when she was 20.
Oh, well, no. No, and when I see the youngies getting it done, it's ridiculous.
Well, you do wonder.
Because the face will fall apart at 55.
Exactly right. And you see women with so much filler in their face and then it all falls down.
Yes.
And, I mean, you think you're going to look better because, you know, I
don't think you can get filler out, can you? Or can you?
No, I don't think you can. You can dissolve it. So it's a bit like a tattoo, right? It costs less to get it on and more to get it out.
Just don't do it unless you're older.
Yeah, that's I just
and then just do a little bit, not a lot.
Exactly.
I like to recognise the people I know.
Helpful. It's very helpful. Okay, now I'm going to give you some statements that may or may not be outrageous, and you will just answer yes or no. So you don't have to make a choice like I gave you last time. Working is better than retiring.
Yes.
Grey hair is better than wrinkles.
I don't want grey hair.
But you don't. So that means you'd say no.
No.
Because grey hair is not better.
Because I used to be dark.
Yeah.
And now I'm blonde.
I know.
And I love it.
Do you wish you'd done it earlier is the question.
No, I don't. I think it was the perfect timing.
Good on you. Good on you. Dancing is better than yoga.
Oh, yes, dancing.
Okay. Love is better than sex.
Love, yes.
A good bra is better than shapewear. Next question.
Do you want to see what I'm wearing? I don't wear a bra if I can get away with it.
Yeah.
Even on Studio 10, if there was a top or a dress or something I was wearing, I'd think, I can get away with no bra. I can't stand them.
Oh, because they're so tight. Right?
Yeah, well, let's not go into it. I'll show you when we're finished.
Okay, it's an audio experience mostly. Okay. Old is better than young.
Oh.
Is that a yes or no?
Yeah. I think old. I wouldn't like to go back. So I think older.
Well, your young is all recorded for everybody to see.
Yeah. But the thing is that saying you can't put an old head on young shoulders.
I know.
If you went backwards like Benjamin, what is it?
Benjamin Button.
Yeah.
From the movie.
Yeah. Sometimes I wish I could go back. No, I don't. I don't wish I could go back. I'm happy with the way it is. So, there's been a lot of turmoil to get to here, but there's none now.
Well, no one gets off scot-free, right? There's turmoil in
everybody out there has got a story.
That's exactly right. And what advice would you give yourself if you could go back to talk to that Logie winning girl in the brown dress in front of John Wayne?
I'd go back further.
Or would you?
And I'd go back and don't worry about your weight.
That's a good one.
because I used to step on the scales at least 5 times a day.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was one of those. And
Oh.
I gave them away about 10 years ago.
It never felt better.
Yeah. I know when I've put it on. I've only got to feel.
I know, but it is a real struggle for some women. And I do think the 70s and 80s were really brutal about women's bodies.
Yeah.
You know, the men were in charge of the advertising and all the models on TV were stunning looking and
Yeah.
beautiful. And the men, you're like, hang
Yeah.
on.
But that's the same. Men can age, but
Yeah.
we're not supposed to. Still,
Yeah.
there's still some.
Yeah, there
that
is still
thing.
stuff like that. And this is my last one. Are the best things in life free?
I think one of the best things in life is health. And it doesn't matter what you've got, how much or how little, if you haven't got your health, you've got nothing.
Yeah, I think that's very fair cop. And on that note, I'm going to wrap this up. How did I go for time? Oh, I did.
We're right on.
Yeah, we're right. I'm so good. Thank you so much for spending time with me today.
It's been a pleasure.
Well, it's been more of a delight for me.
I hope that you've learned a couple of things.
I have. You are a very wise person.
No.
What am I going to call you? Dee Dee, Ding Dong, Drizzy,
Drizzy.
Drizzy.
Or Niecy.
Drizzy or Niecy.
Niecy. Niecy's the softest one. That's
Okay.
what,
That's your familiar one.
yeah.
What do your grandkids call you?
Nana niece.
Nana Niece.
Yes, I get Nana niece from Heidi.
Nana Niece, that's a bit of a tongue twister.
Yeah.
A bit like Buckfast. Anyway, thank you for your time.
Thanks, Alex, for having me on the Midlife Shift.